Admiral George Harris stood by the large window of the UEF Defiant. His eyes were fixed on the massive alien ship floating in the black space ahead. It was at least 5 times bigger than his own vessel. The ship belonged to the Galactic Council, a group of 17 advanced alien species. After years of fighting with these aliens, humans had finally agreed to talk about peace. "Admiral, the Council representatives have arrived at the meeting room," said Lieutenant Frank Rogers from behind. Harris nodded without turning. "And our team?" "Ms. Martinez is ready, sir. She's reviewing her notes one last time." Harris took a deep breath and straightened his blue uniform. He was a tall man with gray hair and a face marked by years of tough decisions. "Then it's time. We join them." The walk to the meeting room was silent. Harris had fought the Council's forces for 15 years. Now he was about to sit across a table from them. The thought didn't sit well with him, but Earth needed this peace. They were running, out of resources and ships. The meeting room doors slid open. Inside, Lisa Martinez was arranging digital folders on her tablet. She was Earth's best diplomat, known for her calm mind and sharp thinking. Her dark hair was pulled back, and she wore a simple gray suit. "Admiral," she greeted him with a nod. "Are you ready?" "As ready as anyone can be," he replied. "Do you think they'll offer fair terms?" Lisa's face showed doubt. "The Council has never seen us as equals. I don't expect that to change today, but we must try." A soft sound announced another door opening. From the other side of the room entered the alien delegation. Leading them was Vox Thule, a tall blue-skinned Xylaxian with 4 arms and a head that seemed too small for his body. Behind him came 6 other aliens of different shapes and sizes. Some looked almost human, while others were so strange that Harris had to force himself not to stare. "Representatives of Earth." Vox Thule's voice was deep and seemed to echo slightly. "We are pleased you have finally seen reason." Harris felt his jaw tighten but kept quiet. This was Lisa's arena. "We come seeking a fair peace between our peoples," Lisa said with a polite smile. "Shall we begin?" They all sat around the large round table. Harris noticed how the aliens' chairs were all different to fit their unique bodies. Someone had planned this meeting very carefully. "The terms are simple," Vox Thule began without any small talk. He waved one of his 4 hands and a hologram appeared over the table. "Human ships will be limited to Earth's solar system. Any travel beyond requires Council approval." Lisa's smile didn't waver, but Harris saw her hand tighten around her pen. "All human military vessels will be inspected by Council officers," Vox Thule continued. "Human colonies on other worlds will pay a yearly tax to the Council for protection." "Protection from whom?" Harris couldn't stop himself from asking. Vox Thule's small eyes fixed on him. "From yourselves, Admiral. Humans have shown they are too violent and unpredictable to be trusted with free travel among the stars." The meeting went downhill from there. For 3 days, Lisa tried to negotiate better terms. She presented facts about human culture, tried to explain Earth's need for resources, and even offered technology exchange. Nothing worked. The Council had made up their minds long ago. Humans were dangerous children who needed to be controlled. 20. The 3rd day, Harris had enough. During a short break, he pulled Lisa aside in a private corner of the room. "This isn't a peace talk," he said quietly. "This is them telling us how we'll surrender." Lisa looked tired. Dark circles showed under her eyes. "I know, George, I've tried everything. They won't budge." Harris looked over at the aliens who were talking among themselves. "Then we're done here." "What do you mean?" "I mean we're leaving. We didn't come here to sign away our freedom." Lisa's eyes widened. "If we walk away, they might see it as an act of war." "We're already at war," Harris said. "The only difference is now we know exactly what they think of us." He tapped his communication device. "Rogers, prepare the ship for immediate departure." When they returned to the table, Vox Thule could sense something had changed. His upper arms folded across his chest. "Have you finally accepted our terms?" "No," Harris answered, before Lisa could speak. We are ending these talks. A strange sound came from several aliens, something like hissing mixed with clicking. Vox Thul's blue skin darkened slightly. That would be unwise, Admiral. The Council has been patient with your kind. That patience has limits. Lisa stepped forward. Her voice was calm but strong. We came looking for peace between equals. You offered terms of surrender. There's a big difference between those things. Your species is barely a century into space travel, another alien said. This one looked like a tall praying mantis. The youngest Council race has been traveling stars for over 1,000 years. You are not our equals. Harris smiled without humor. Then I guess we'll have to show you why age isn't everything. Lisa gathered her tablets and folders. We will return to Earth. If the Council wishes to discuss true peace in the future, you know how to contact us. Vox Thul stood, towering over them. If you leave now, the Council will consider it a rejection of peace. The consequences will be severe. Harris met the alien's gaze without flinching. We understand. Do you? The human delegation walked out of the room together. No one spoke until they were back on the bridge of the Defiant. Set course for Earth, Harris ordered. Maximum speed. As the stars stretched into lines of light around them, Lisa stood beside Harris at the window. Do you think we just made a huge mistake? She asked softly. Harris watched the light show of faster-than-light travel for a moment before answering. No. We just showed them something important about humans. What's that? That we would rather face death as free people than live as slaves. He turned to her with determination in his eyes. And now we need to make sure we have the strength to back up those words. The UEF Defiant raced toward Earth, carrying news that would change humanity's path among the stars forever. Behind them, the Council ship remained in place, its occupants still trying to understand what had just happened. They had offered peace, on their terms. No species had ever walked away from such an offer before. They would soon learn that humans were not like any species they had met before. 6 months passed since the humans walked away from the peace talks. In the Galactic Council's territory, strange things began to happen. A cargo ship carrying valuable metals disappeared near the Orion sector. The crew of another ship reported seeing a small black vessel that didn't show up on their sensors. Before they could take a closer look, it vanished. On the planet Xeris 4, a communication station went offline for 6 hours. When it came back online, nothing seemed wrong. But 3 days later, the station manager discovered that someone had copied all their security codes and protocols. The Council's military leaders blamed pirates or technical problems. They didn't consider that humans might be responsible. After, all human ships couldn't travel this far into Council space without being detected. High Admiral Zoth, the Council's top military officer, received reports from across Council territory. He was a Dravid, a species known for their logical minds and calm approach to problems. But these reports were starting to worry him. Another outpost lost contact? He asked his assistant. Yes, sir. The border station near Procyonia. They've been silent for over 30 hours now. Zoth's gray skin wrinkled with concern. That's the 5th one this month. Send a battle group to investigate. Meanwhile, on the border outpost near Procyonia, Major Chris Bennett and his team moved silently through empty hallways. They wore black armor that bent light around them, making them nearly invisible. Each soldier carried equipment that blocked the station's sensors. Control room secured, said Sergeant Amy Clark through their communication system. No casualties. Good work, Bennett replied. How's our time? 26 hours in. We have 10 more before the battle group arrives. Bennett nodded, though no one could see it. More than enough. Get all the data and prepare to leave. Inside the control room, Amy and 2 other soldiers were downloading everything from the stations. Computers, defense plans, ship movements, communication codes. The alien crew of the station were all locked in their quarters, unhurt but unable to stop what was happening. Sir, one of the soldiers called out, I found something interesting. Looks like complete plans for their new defense system. Copy it all, Bennett ordered, and leave our little gift behind. The gift was a small device that would send false information to Council ships for months before anyone noticed. By then, humans would know everything about the Council's movements. 8 hours later, the station's crew was released from their quarters. They found nothing damaged or stolen. Even the security cameras showed nothing unusual. It was as if no one had been there at all. When the Council battle group arrived, they found the station operating normally. The crew reported a simple communication system failure, now fixed. The battle group commander was confused, but accepted the explanation and left. Only later, when similar reports came from dozens of locations, did the Council realize they were under attack. In an emergency meeting on Centauri Prime, the Galactic Council gathered to discuss these events. "It's clearly the humans," said Councillor Lan, the lion-like alien who had mocked them months earlier. His confident voice was now tinged with worry. "But how are they doing this? They shouldn't have the technology." High Chancellor Mirok's stone face showed rare concern. "Show the recording from Procyonia again." A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a security video from the station. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then a shadow moved slightly. The image was enhanced, and a human figure became visible for just a moment before disappearing again. "Impossible," whispered one counselor. "Our scientists said humans were at least a century away from developing stealth technology like this." Counselor Jin, the small frog-like alien who had warned them about humans, spoke up. "I told you we underestimated them. Humans adapt faster than any species we've encountered. Their short lives and difficult history have taught them to change quickly or die." "But this level of advancement in just 6 months?" another counselor asked. "The stealth technology was likely already in development," Jin replied. "I suspect they were hiding their true capabilities during our earlier encounters." Mirok looked troubled. "What do they want? Why haven't they attacked our worlds or destroyed our ships?" "Information," said High Admiral Zoth, who had joined the meeting. "They're gathering intelligence, learning our weaknesses. This is not random. This is careful, strategic planning." "For what?" asked Lan. "For war," Zoth answered simply. "But a different kind of war than we expected." As the Council argued about how to respond on the agricultural world of Procyonia, something even more alarming was happening. Governor Kelva was about to send an urgent message to Centauri Prime when all power in the government building suddenly went out. Emergency lights came on, casting the room in dim red light. "What's happening?" she demanded of her security chief. Before he could answer, the doors opened. 3 humans walked in, wearing simple uniforms without weapons. The one in front was a woman with short blonde hair. "Governor Kelva," the woman said in perfect Procyonian language. "My name is Olivia Grant. I'm here representing the United Earth government." The security chief moved to protect the governor, but Kelva waved him back. "How did you get past our defenses? The entire planet is protected by energy shields." Olivian smiled slightly. "Those shields were designed to stop Council ships. We're not using Council technology." "What do you want?" Kelva asked, trying to hide her fear. "Procyonia is a peaceful world. We grow food. We have no military value." "That's exactly why we're here," Olivia replied. "To show you that we're not what the Council claims we are." For the next 3 days, humans controlled Procyonia. But they did something unexpected. They helped. They fixed irrigation systems, improved crop yields, and treated sick Procyonians in remote villages. They shared simple technology that would make farming easier. When they finally left, Governor Kelva sent a message to the Council that would cause even more alarm. The humans could have destroyed us. Instead, they helped us. Everything the Council has told us about humans may be wrong. Across Council space, more reports came in. Humans appeared, gathered information, sometimes helped local populations, and then vanished before military ships could arrive. They never attacked civilians. They never destroyed anything that wasn't a direct military target. And they always left the same message. We wanted peace as equals. Remember that when the Council tells you why we must be destroyed. In his private chambers, High Chancellor Mirok reviewed the latest reports with growing concern. The humans were not behaving as expected. They weren't seeking revenge. They weren't destroying council worlds. They were fighting a war of information and influence, and they were winning. How do we stop them? He asked High Admiral Zoth. Our sensors can't detect their ships until they're already inside our defenses. We need to change our approach, Zoth replied. Perhaps it's time to consider new peace talks, with different terms. Mirok shook his head firmly. The Council will never agree to treat humans as equals. It would undermine our authority with other species. Then prepare for a long conflict, Zoth said grimly, because these humans are not the primitives we thought they were, and I fear we've only seen the beginning of what they can do. As they spoke, a small black ship exited faster than light travel near Earth. It carried information that would change the course of the conflict. The Council was preparing a massive fleet to attack Earth directly. They hoped to end the human problem once and for all. They didn't realize that this was exactly what the humans had been waiting for. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council shimmered with light from 3 artificial suns. On Centauri Prime, the Council's home planet, everything was built to impress. High Chancellor Mirok sat on an elevated chair at the center of a half-circle table. The other 16 council members sat on either side of him. They were discussing the failed peace talks with humans. They simply left? Asked Councillor Drev, a tall, thin alien with pale skin. No one has ever walked away from our peace offers. They did more than leave, High Chancellor Mirok replied. His gray, stone-like face showed no emotion. They rejected our terms completely. Councillor Lan, who looked almost like a large lion walking on 2 legs, laughed. Let them reject. Their colonies are cut off from Earth. They have no allies. Within 1 standard year they will return, begging to accept our terms. Most council members nodded in agreement. Humans were new to space travel. The youngest council race had been traveling the stars for over 1,000 years. Many had been, doing so for much longer. Humans were simply too young, too primitive to understand their place in the galaxy. Only Councillor Jin, a small frog-like being from a water world, seemed worried. I think we are making a mistake. Humans adapt faster than any species we have seen. Pushing them into a corner may be dangerous. Dangerous? Councillor Lan mocked. Their ships are primitive. Their weapons are simple. What could they possibly do? I don't know, Shin admitted. And that is what worries me. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Harris and Lisa Martinez stood before the United Earth government. The large meeting room was packed with leaders from all human colonies. They had just finished explaining what happened at the peace talks. So we have no peace, said President Steve Donovan. He was an older man with a reputation for careful thinking. What do we have instead? Time, Admiral Harris answered. Not much, but some. The Council thinks we will come crawling back when we realize we can't win. And can we win? Asked a colony leader from the back of the room. Harris looked around at the worried faces. Not by fighting the way they expect us to. He walked to a display screen and turned it on. The Council has ships that are bigger and more powerful than anything we can build quickly. They have been in space for thousands of years, but that's actually their weakness. How is that a weakness? Someone asked. Because they think they know everything about space warfare. They think there's nothing new to learn. And they think we will try to fight exactly like they do. Lisa Martinez stepped forward. While we were on their ship, our systems were gathering data. We now know more about their technology, their tactics, and their thinking. And what have we learned? President Donovan asked. That we need to change everything about how we fight, Harris said. Right now. 3 weeks later, Commander Kate Winters walked through a huge factory on Mars. The factory used to build large battleships. Now it was building something very different. How many can we make in a month? She asked the engineer walking beside her. John Rivera checked his tablet. About 500 of the smaller ones, maybe 75 of the larger ones. They stopped to watch robots assembling small ships. Each one was about the size of an old Earth fighter jet. They were sleek, black, and looked nothing like traditional space vessels. And the stealth system? Winters asked. Samantha is working on the final Tests now, Rivera replied. Should be ready to install by next week. They walked to another section where a woman with red hair was working on a control panel. She wore safety glasses and moved her hands quickly over the controls. Speak of the devil, Rivera said with a smile. Samantha, the commander wants an update. Samantha Williams turned and pushed her glasses up. Perfect timing, I just finished the latest test. She tapped some buttons and a screen showed a small ship. Then the ship seemed to fade away until it couldn't be seen at all. It works? Winters asked, trying not to sound too excited. Better than we hoped, Williams replied proudly. The Council's sensors won't be able to detect our ships until they're close enough to touch. And the new engine? Dr. Powell is waiting for us in the testing area. He's excited to show you. They walked to another building where a tall man with wild gray hair was standing next to what looked like a large metal ring. Dr. Powell, how are the new engines coming along? Winters asked. Alex Powell grinned like a child with a new toy. They're not just coming along, Commander, they're finished, he pointed to the metal ring. This is it, the new FTL drive. Winters looked confused. That's it? Our old drives are 10 times that size? Yes, and they're half as fast and use 4 times the energy, Powell said. This little beauty will let our new ships move like nothing the Council has ever seen. As they talked, Admiral Harris entered the room. Everyone stood straighter. At ease, Harris said. I came to see our progress. He looked at the new drive. Will it work, Dr. Powell? It already has, sir. In tests, it achieved speeds 80% faster than our best previous drives. Harris nodded, pleased. And it will fit in the new ships? The smaller version will, yes. We're making them as fast as we can. Harris turned to Commander Winters. And Project Phoenix overall? On schedule, sir, she replied. We're changing everything, tactics, technology, training. The Council expects us to build bigger ships to match theirs. Instead, we're building hundreds of smaller, faster ones. And the pilots? Training in the new simulators now. It's a completely different way of fighting, but they're learning fast. Harris walked to a window that looked out over the Martian landscape. In the distance, more factories were working day and night. The Council thinks we will come back to them broken by isolation, he said quietly. They expect us to build the same kinds of ships, use the same kinds of tactics, and eventually lose the same way everyone else has lost to them. He turned back to face the others. Instead, we'll return changed. We will fight in ways they've never seen. We will use tactics they've never imagined. Do you think it will be enough? Winters asked. Harris looked at each of them, the commander, the engineers, the scientist. Each person represented thousands more working all across human space. I don't know, he answered honestly. But I do know this. Humans have always been at their best when facing impossible odds. Throughout our history, we've faced enemies who were bigger, stronger, and better equipped. Sometimes we lost, but often we won by changing the rules of the fight. He walked over to one of the small ships being assembled. Its black surface seemed to swallow the light. The Council thinks this will be a war of strength against strength, he said, running his hand along the ship's smooth hull. We're going to show them it's actually a war of ideas, and in that kind of war I like our chances. As Admiral Harris spoke, across human space a transformation was taking place. Old methods were being abandoned. New technologies were being created. Humans weren't preparing to surrender. They were preparing to show the galaxy what made them different. The Galactic Council had made a serious error. They thought isolation would weaken humanity. Instead, it was forcing humans to become something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. The Galactic Council was falling apart. After 9 months of strange human activities in their space, many council members were arguing with each other. Some wanted to attack Earth immediately. Others wanted to make peace before things got worse. We should crush them now, shouted Councillor Land, pounding his fist on the table. Our combined fleet is almost ready. One swift attack on their homeworld will end this. And what if we fail? Asked Councillor Jin calmly. What if the humans have prepared for this? Impossible, Land growled. We have 5,000 ships. The humans had barely 300 when they left the peace talks. High Chancellor Mirok, raised his hand for silence. We will proceed with the plan. The fleet leaves for Earth in 3 days. This human problem will be solved once and for all. What the Council didn't know was that a human spy was listening to every word. Hidden technologies placed during previous missions recorded the entire meeting. The information was on its way to Earth within minutes. At the United Earth Defense headquarters, Admiral Harris received the news with a grim smile. They're coming, he told the room full of officers. 5,000 ships, heading for Earth in 3 days. Instead of fear, the announcement was met with determined faces. Are we ready? Asked President Donovan. Commander Kate Winter stepped forward. Project Phoenix is complete, sir. All systems are operational. Our pilots are trained. The new fleet is ready. How many ships do we have? The President asked. It's not about the number of ships anymore, Harris replied. But if you're counting, we have over 10,000. Surprised murmurs filled the room. When they had left the peace talks, humanity had only 300 large warships. 10,000? How is that possible? Someone asked. They're not the kind of ships the Council is expecting, Harris explained. Most are small, 1- or 2-person crafts. But each one has stealth technology, advanced weapons, and the new drive system. Together, they're more powerful than anything the Council has ever seen. What's the plan? President Donovan asked. Harris touched a control, and a hologram appeared showing the space between Earth and the expected Council fleet. We don't wait for them to reach Earth, he said. We meet them here near the Volantis shipyard. It's their biggest military installation and the gathering point for their fleet. You want to attack them at their strongest point? Donovan looked concerned. Yes, Harris nodded. Because that's the last thing they'll expect. And because taking out that shipyard will cripple their ability to build more ships. Who will lead the attack? Winters asked. Captain Ryan Douglas in the First Strike Fleet, Harris replied. He's been practicing the new tactics longer than anyone. 3 days later, Captain Ryan Douglas sat in the command chair of the UEF. Swift, a new type of ship that was small but incredibly fast. Around him, crew members worked at their stations with focused intensity. All ships report ready, Captain, said his second-in-command, Lieutenant Diane Foster. Ryan nodded. Communicate with all fleet captains. Operation Phoenix begins in 5 minutes. The First Strike Fleet was hidden in the darkness of space near Volantis. 4,000 small ships waited silently, their stealth systems making them invisible to Council sensors. On the main Council station orbiting Volantis, Admiral Gorks of the Xylaxian Defense Force was preparing the massive fleet for its journey to Earth. 5,000 ships of various sizes were arranged in perfect formation. It was the largest fleet ever assembled by the Council. Status report, Gorks demanded. All ships report ready, Admiral, his officer replied. We await only your command to depart. Gorks felt proud. This fleet would finally solve the human problem. The Council's authority would be restored. Prepare for departure in... He stopped as alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. What's happening? He shouted. The officer checked his console with confusion. We're detecting hundreds of ships. They're appearing everywhere throughout the system. Impossible. Our sensors would have detected their approach. But it was happening. All across the Volantis system, human ships were appearing as if from nowhere. They had been there all along, hidden by their advanced stealth technology. On the UEF Swift, Ryan gave the order. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta. Remember your training. Remember our goal. The human ships moved with incredible speed and coordination. They were not attacking in traditional formations. Instead, they flowed like water around the larger Council vessels, targeting specific systems, weapons, engines, communications, but avoiding life support and crew quarters. The Council ships tried to respond, but their tactics were designed for fighting large vessels like themselves. The small, fast human ships moved in ways their targeting systems couldn't predict. This is impossible, Gorks shouted as he watched his perfect fleet falling into chaos. How are they doing this? On the station's main screen, he could see human vessels performing maneuvers that defied the laws of physics, as the Council understood them. They accelerated and changed direction instantly, without the turning radius that should be required. Sir, his officer reported with fear in his voice. Our flagship has lost weapons and engines. 3 cruisers are completely disabled. We're getting similar reports from across the fleet. Within 1 hour, half of the Council's Grand Fleet was floating helplessly in space. No ships had been destroyed, but none could fight or flee either. Ryan. Douglas opened a communication channel that broadcast to every Council ship and the station. This is Captain Ryan Douglas of the United Earth Defense Force. Your fleet has been neutralized. Your ships are disabled but not destroyed. Your crews are unharmed. We could destroy this entire fleet and station if we wanted to. Instead, we will leave in 1 hour, allowing your repair crews to begin work. This is not an act of mercy. It's the difference between your approach and ours. Admiral Gorks watched helplessly as the human ships continued their precise attacks across the system. The Council fleet, which had seemed so powerful, now looked clumsy and outdated. Sir, his officer said quietly, the human ships are targeting the shipyard. Gorks looked at the massive shipyard that was the pride of the Council. It contained hundreds of ships under construction and technology worth incalculable value, but the humans didn't destroy it. Instead, they copied all its data, disabled its defenses, and left it intact. It was a clear message. We could have destroyed everything, but we chose not to. When the hour was up, the human ships vanished as suddenly as they had appeared, leaving the Council fleet in disarray. On Centauri Prime, the Galactic Council watched recordings of the battle in stunned silence. Their perfect fleet had been defeated without a single Council ship being destroyed. This is worse than if they had simply destroyed us, High Chancellor Mirok said finally. They showed restraint we did not offer them. They showed mercy where we showed none. What do we do now? Asked a counselor. Before Mirok could answer, another alarm sounded. Reports were coming in from across Council space. Many member species were withdrawing their forces from Council control. Some were even reaching out to humans for separate peace agreements. The Council is fracturing, Jin observed. Just as I feared. The humans have shown they can defeat us militarily, but they've also shown they aren't the mindless aggressors we claimed they were. Many of our member species are questioning why we treated them as enemies in the first place. Mirok looked old and tired suddenly. His stone-like face seemed to sag. Then we have no choice. We must request new peace talks. The humans will never agree, said Lan bitterly. They might, Jin replied, if we approach them differently this time. As the Council debated, on the UEF Swift heading back to Earth, Captain Ryan Douglas sent his report to Admiral Harris. The mission had been a complete success. The Council's fleet was crippled, their shipyard compromised, and not a single human life had been lost. Do you think they'll get the message, sir? Lieutenant Foster asked. Ryan looked at the stars streaming past as they traveled faster than any Council ship could follow. I hope so, he said. Because this was just a demonstration. If they force us into a real war, it won't be so bloodless next time. Back on Earth, Admiral Harris received the news of the victory with mixed feelings. They had won an important battle, but the war wasn't over. The next move belonged to the Council. Would they learn from this defeat, or would pride push them toward destruction? Only time would tell. But for now, humanity had proven something important, not just to the Council, but to the entire galaxy. Humans were not to be underestimated, and perhaps more importantly, they were not the mindless aggressors the Council had painted them to be. They wanted peace, but it would be peace between equals, or it would be no peace at all. The message from the Galactic Council arrived on Earth exactly 1 month after the battle at Volantis. It was simple and direct. The Council requested new peace talks, this time on Earth. President Laura Chen read the message twice before looking up at her advisors. They want to come here, that's different. Admiral Harris nodded. Very different. Last time, they insisted we go to them to show our lower status. Coming to us is a major change. Do we accept? Asked Secretary of Defense William Garcia. I think we must, Lisa Martinez said. She had been studying Council communications for months. This is as close to an admission of error as we're likely to get from them. President Chen thought for a long moment. Set up the meeting. But make sure our defenses remain at full alert. This could be a trick. 2 weeks later, a single council ship entered Earth orbit. Unlike the massive warship from the previous talks, this was a diplomatic vessel. It was still impressive by human standards, but the message was clear. This was not meant to intimidate. In the Grand Hall of the United Earth Government in New Geneva, preparations were complete. The room was impressive without being showy. Large windows provided a view of the Swiss Alps in the distance. The furniture was elegant but practical. No special chairs this time, Lisa Martinez noted as she walked around the large round table. Everyone sits at the same height. Admiral Harris stood by the window, watching the council shuttle descend through Earth's atmosphere. Do you think they've really changed their minds about us, or is this just a new tactic? I don't know, Lisa admitted. But at least they're here. That's a start. When the council delegation entered the hall, everyone noticed the difference from the first meeting. Voxathul was still leading them, but his manner had changed. The arrogance was gone. He walked into the room with caution, even a hint of respect. More surprising was what waited outside. Through the large windows, everyone could see the honor guard of ships floating in Earth's sky. But it wasn't just human vessels. Ships from several council species floated alongside Earth ships. They were species that had broken away from the council to form separate agreements with humanity. President Chen stepped forward to greet the visitors. She was a short woman with gray-streaked black hair and a calm, steady presence. Welcome to Earth, representatives of the Galactic Council. We are ready to discuss a true peace between our peoples. Voxathul bowed slightly, something he had never done before. President Chen, we come seeking a different kind of discussion than our previous attempt. Everyone sat around the round table. The humans noticed that the council members looked uncomfortable. They were not used to being treated as equals in negotiations. Before we begin, Voxathul said, I must acknowledge something. The council was incorrect in our assessment of humanity. A murmur went through the human delegation. This was an extraordinary admission from a council member. At our first meeting, we offered terms that were not those of peace between equals, Voxathul continued. We now understand this was an error. What changed your minds? Admiral Harris asked directly. You did, replied a different council member, a female with light blue skin and silver eyes. Not just your military success, but how you achieved it. You could have destroyed our fleet at Volantis. You could have killed thousands. Instead, you disabled our ships while protecting their crews. And your actions on worlds like Procyonia, added another council member. You helped people rather than harming them, even while gathering intelligence about our defenses. President Chen nodded. Humanity does not seek domination or destruction. We never did. We simply wanted to be treated with respect. Lisa Martinez opened several folders on the table. We have prepared a proposal for a new relationship between Earth and the Council, one based on mutual respect rather than power or age. The talks continued for 3 days. Unlike the first meeting, real progress was made. The Council members listened to human concerns. The humans explained their rapid development and unique approach to problems. On the final day, Voxathul asked a question that seemed to trouble him. There is something I do not understand. When you had the chance to destroy us at Volantis, why didn't you? It would have ended the conflict immediately. President Chen looked to Admiral Harris, who answered thoughtfully. Because that's not who we are. Humans have a long, complicated history. We've done terrible things to each other and to our own planet, but we've learned from our mistakes. We fight when we must, but we always prefer peace. It would have been easier to destroy your ships, he continued. But then we would have become what you accused us of being. Violent beings who solve problems through destruction. We wanted to show you a different path. Voxathul was silent for a moment. I see now why so many council species have sought separate agreements with you. You offered something the council has forgotten: growth and change. On the last day, a new treaty was signed. It became known as the Geneva Accord. The document recognized humanity as equals in the galactic community. It established fair trade agreements and cultural exchanges, Most importantly, it created a new organization, the Interstellar Alliance, where all species would have equal representation regardless of their technological advancement or age. As the council members prepared to leave, President Chen and Admiral Harris stood with Commander Winters on a balcony, watching the mixed fleet of ships in the sky. "Do you think it will last?" Winters asked, looking at the beautiful but strange combination of human and alien vessels. "It won't be easy," Harris admitted. "The Council has ruled for thousands of years. Old habits die hard." "But it's a beginning," President Chen said firmly. "For the first time, they're asking questions instead of making assumptions. That's how real understanding starts." After the council ship departed, Harris found Lisa Martinez working late in her office. "You should be celebrating," he said. "The treaty is signed. We've accomplished what seemed impossible a year ago." Lisa looked up from her computer with a tired smile. "I'm already working on the next stage. Cultural exchange programs, scientific collaborations, joint defense exercises." Harris laughed softly. "Always looking forward. That's very human of you." "That's the point, isn't it?" She closed her computer. "What made us different? Our adaptability, our creativity, our willingness to try new approaches. Those are the things that saved us. And now they're the things that will help build this new alliance." "Do you think the Council truly understands us now?" Harris asked. Lisa thought for a moment. "No, not completely. But they've started asking the right questions. That's enough for now." Across human space, people celebrated not conquest but recognition. After years of being dismissed as primitive and dangerous, humanity had proven not just their strength but their character. They had shown the galaxy that being young didn't mean being less valuable. It often meant bringing fresh ideas and new approaches to old problems. On council worlds, many citizens were confused by the sudden change. For generations, they had been taught that humans were violent primitives. Now they were told that humans were valuable allies. It would take time for old prejudices to fade. But on worlds like Procyonia, where humans had shown kindness even during conflict, people already understood. The governor there sent a message to Earth that captured what many were feeling. "You showed us that true advancement isn't measured by the age of your civilization or the size of your ships. It's measured by the growth of your wisdom and the strength of your compassion." 6 months after the treaty was signed, a new academy opened on Earth. It welcomed students from all species, including many from the Council worlds. Its motto, written in both human and alien languages, summed up the lesson that had changed the galaxy. Wisdom comes not from age, but from understanding. Admiral Harris visited the academy on its opening day. Watching young humans and aliens learning together, he felt a sense of pride. The path to this moment had been difficult and dangerous, but by refusing to accept the Council's terms, by retreating from false peace to find true peace, humanity had changed not just their own future but the future of the galaxy.